Welcome all to the 19th session of Talking Films Online. Today we are going to discuss a Malayalam film that Vipin suggested for us, Oli Divasate Kali. I'm not sure of the pronunciation. I hope I'm getting it right. But first, let me introduce Vipin. I think most of you would have heard him in the course of the discussions, and possibly you would also have read his profile. But for those who haven't, Vipin is Assistant Professor of English at BHU. He completed his PhD from our university, the English and Foreign Languages University, on historicizing Kshemam, a study of vernacular political discourse in Travancore, 1890s to 1930s. Currently he is working on aesthetic and political transformations in contemporary Malayalam cinema. So before I ask Vipin to take over, one interesting connection with the director of this film, Sanal Kumar Shashidharan. It was during the discussion of his, I think later film Chola on my Facebook wall that Geeta suggested that we should carry on this kind of film discussion through a dedicated film club, and that's how the idea of Talking Films Online was born. So, in some ways, this film, particularly the director of this film, made possible Talking Films Online and all the discussions that we have been having so far. So, acknowledging that, I now ask Vipin to take over and do tell us why you asked us to watch this film and all that you have to say about the film. Over to you, Vipin.
So this movie, the reason why I wanted to suggest this film and not the game was that I was watching some of Sanal Kumar Shashidharan movies, and there are certain ways in which these movies actually, I found these movies very interesting, especially the sort of relation between the question of everyday forms of violence, how, in fact, all the movies by Sanal depict everyday forms of violence with a certain kind of subtlety which you usually don't see in, films. So I will come to this movie a bit later, but then before that, I want to give a sort of general sense of Shashidharan movies, and I also want to share a few, uh, um, you know, general things about his cinematic practice, which probably would be useful in sort of understanding this filmmaker. So his Sanal Kumar Shashidharan started with short films. He did the first one was Adishay Logam in 2001. Then in 2008 he did another short film called Parole. Then 2012 one called The Four, and which was also awarded the best short film award by the Kerala State Television Awards. So he begins with short films, but some of the motifs, themes that he deals with in these short films are actually continued, carried forward to some of the, for example, Adishay Logam is about a madman and how he looks at the world, which is full of violence and all that, which in some sense I see sort of, coming back in his last movie, Unmadiyude Marana. So there are some of these motifs that come back again and again in his movies. Now coming to his feature films, his first feature film was Oral Pokkam, 6 Feet High, which was released in 2014. Then the film that we are watching now, Olivudusathe Kali, was his second film. released in 2015. And after that, he has done Sexy Durga, which also brought us some debate and discussion because of the title of the movie. Then Unmadida Maranam, and the last one, ma'am mentioned it, Chola. So this is his, his filmography. But one very interestingly, very consistent motive in most of these films, or all these films, is a question of violence. So I will come back to this later. Now, this film, An Off Day Game, is based on a story with the same title by a very renowned short story writer in Malayalam, Umi R. But this was only the story. I think Sanal says in one of the interviews that there was no script for the movie. So all the actions and dialogues that we see in the film are actually improvisations on the spot. Then Sanal Kumar Shashidharan is also associated with a film society called Kalcha Chalachitra Vedi. So this film society organizes screenings across Kerala and also attracts huge crowds for its screenings. Um, Kalcha also conducts film festivals, international film festival. And one more thing, interesting thing about this movie, An Off the Game, was that after the movie was released, they actually had this thing called Cinema 1D, um, or a cinema cat, where they would go into different parts of Kerala and conduct screening. Okay? So this is something that they were doing. One more thing, like two of Shashidharan's movies, Atishay Logam and Oral Pukam, are also crowdfunded. So I'm saying this because it's interesting, like the film society activities such as organizing film festivals, filmmaking without a script, uh, public screenings through channels other than distribution system, crowdfunding for the movies, movie productions, rather than depending on industrial capital. So all these reminds us something from the film society movement of the 70s, and as ideas associated with that, people's cinema, the cultivation of a new film, viewership culture, etc. But it is also interesting that even though probably one can put Sanal Kumar Shashidharan in that lineage of film society movement and all that, he doesn't get trapped into the label of art cinema, because if you go back to the film society period in 70s and 80s in Kerala, films of Adur or Aravindan or John Abraham, uh, the films that they were making were also labeled as art films. But then here, Shashidharan's movies, it's interesting, doesn't get sort of labeled that way, but in fact, it attracts a huge sort of viewership. So, in some sense, it's also a pointer towards the changing nature of viewership in Kerala today. Now, coming to An Off the Game, um, I will take a few minutes and I will make a few points that I found very interesting in that movie. So I've made some notes here, like some three, four points. I will just say that. So the first thing that I found very interesting in this film is that the film actually starts with a series of documentary shots. And what it shows is the last days, in fact, the final day of the Arivikara election campaign, which in some sense gives a sense of the the everyday space. So the camera captures people standing in different places, and sometimes they look at the camera. Um, and it's also very interesting how the characters in the film are in some sense placed. The character of Harman and um, the other, I don't remember the name, but those two characters are placed within this crowd. So, in a sense, there is a continuity between this everyday space and the story that is going to unfold, later in relation to these characters. which also give you a sense that this could be anybody. I mean, any person that's standing there, or you know. So the sense of everyday that invokes is something I found very interesting, and this is not something only this movie. I mean, this is something that comes up in other. For example, in Sexy Durga, you have this um, shots of this particular ritual associated with Durga, Garudan Tukam, right? So those documentary sort of shots come in there. So this is something that he uses a lot in his movies. Um, and it is also interesting how this kind of the last day of the election campaign is also a moment of a spectacular carnivalist sort of celebration, which is again continued to the election day, and their party and their celebration in the that remote place. Um, Another thing that I found very interesting in this film is the kind of realism that Sanal Kumar Shashivaran is practicing, which is a very meticulous kind of realism. So after the sequence, this election campaign sequence, we are taken into this house, this homosocial space where these middle-aged friends gather together and to drink and celebrate. Now it's very interesting how the camera is fixed, and which gives a sense of spying on the conversation. And the camera is placed at a distance, and it's spying on the conversation of the characters. And the camera takes up the role of a very distant and neutral observer and turns itself into an ethnographic tool. And I mean, the use of camera in this movie is something quite interesting. I mean, it's very um, in a very unfamiliar sort of manner, he has used camera. And probably you would have noticed that there are no close shots, close-ups, but all the shots are done in medium or long sort of shots, which also makes it difficult for you to, place one character uh, at the center. Um, so what it does is basically um, the camera sort of gives a sense that it is practically not interested in what is unfolding before it, right? And sometimes it actually takes the form of a surveillance CCTV sort of camera. I mean, there is a particular shot where they are sitting inside the room and drinking, and the camera is from above. So it exactly replicates that angle of a CCTV footage. And I found interesting that this particular use of the camera, the distant sort of filming, and a fixed sort of position of the camera without any movement, um, and uh, not using any close-ups, or a combination of different shots from different angles, actually leaves you a little perplexed, because um, by which I mean how to, so usually how you will have so many shots of different kinds of shots, which will give you a sense of organizing the characters, faces, things, etc. within the frame. But then here there is nothing like that is given. So it actually leaves you without any hierarchy between what is given in the frame, and also without any points of identification. So the entering into that frame for the viewer becomes a difficult thing. So that is something that I found very interesting in relation to his use of the camera. Then, as I said, it is about, the story is all about how we understand everyday forms of violence. So the movie starts with this social sort of space, but then moves into a very serene, calm sort of atmosphere. Uh, you know, in fact, a wild sort of location, in contrast, which is again in contrast to the kind of horror that is going to take place there. Now, in an interview, the director has suggested that the background of this wild sort of place make it easy to depict horror of human nature itself. But I think, in a sense, it is also a movement away from the laws of the social world and into a retreat into some kind of, uh, you know, a location which is not governed by a human law as such, which is in a sense relevant to another thing that I would say later. So the forms of violence that this film talks about, or rather depicts, is actually from uh, violence associated with use of language into all other sort of violence associated with structures in society. Like, for example, one character while entering the scene says, "Even God will not know if someone is killed here." In some sense, giving also a sense of what is going to happen. Um, and all the conversation that we hear while they drink is also having very violent undertones. Like one song that they sing has a line like "Kettiya Pennina Tallala," which means let's beat up the wife. You know, and there are so many other different issues that come under discussion, like sexuality or sexual freedom, 1976 emergency, Gulf migration, and the social perception of wealth, the wealth associated with it, uh, contemporary politics, election, and other things, caste, question of reservation, skin color, all these. So, in some sense, but you also see that these four or five friends are, in some sense, this space allows them to open up their, sort of repressed sort of feeling towards each other, towards society, towards the opposite gender and all that. But then there is also a certain way in which they find compromises, continue with drinking, etc. Uh, but this is about the everyday sort of violence. But I think one very unique pattern which emerges in almost all Sanal Kumar Shashidharan movies is also the ending, where the movie ends with a greater sort of violence, which is not explicable, which is not something that can be explained through the logic of narrative progression. So, for example, here the story ends up in a cave, and then finally it ends up in a murder. But then, how do we understand this? I mean, this is something quite fascinating for me. I mean, this happens in all the movies. Uh, in Chola, it happens in a different way, where the girl who has been raped decides not to go back to her mother, but then follow her, the perpetrator of the crime. But then she also does kill her uh, boyfriend. So it actually ends up in a violence that is quite irrational and something that cannot be explained. Why I'm saying it cannot be explained, because I mean, if you think of it in a melodramatic form, like they start the game, and it could have been that there are some flashbacks, there are other different, there are ways in which something pertaining to the characters is revealed, and then a hero or a villain is established, and then somehow an act is, you know, um, in a way justified or rationalized. But that kind of rationalization is not possible in any of these ending in relation to his films. So that's something that I found very interesting, and I don't quite know how to talk about it. Now, so the game that the film is talking about is also, there are hints that the game of democracy. So the first documentary shots give a hint that the film is going to be a comment on the nature of our democracy. It starts on an election campaign, with an election campaign. It continues to, the drinking party happens on an election day, and um, I mean, after the first sequence, if you have noticed, the laws of the game scrolls down on the screen, and the page looks like almost like the preamble of the constitution. So that is also something he does. Uh, Then Geeta, the character in the film, Geeta makes this remark that what do votes mean to us? It's all your men's game. So this idea of democracy as a form of game, is something that the film consistently sort of invokes. So the game becomes almost an allegory for our democratic system. And if you really look at it, it has a king, a minister, police, a judge, the robber, almost all the institutions that are represented within a democratic system. Um, now, so the film's ending is something that is quite not explicable. I mean, one can say that it actually continues with that question of everyday violence. And there is also a very interesting sort of connection that is made between this game and the murder of Dasan and an earlier sort of scene where there is this question that they're discussing about killing of a rooster, right? And nobody is able to do that, and nobody is ready to take responsibility of that. So there is this expression of moral compunction in doing that act. But then when it comes to this game, which ends up in a in a horrible sort of way, there is no sense of regret or moral sort of compunction that is expressed. Um, and some of the reviews I saw are also making some very interesting points because this film was released, and a few months after that, there was this discussion about Dalit suicides, where some Dalit scholars actually made this point that all Dalit suicides are also institutional murders. So I found that also very interesting because in the last scene, it becomes quite, uh, you know, one interesting way to look at that incident would be to think of whether it was a suicide or because the next day probably that would get reported as a suicide. We don't know. So maybe the last scene is also a comment on this question of the suicide bar institutional murder, which in the context of Rohit Kumula and others, people have talked about. So these are some of the things that I found interesting in the film. Yeah, so I will stop here, and maybe we can have a discussion on this rather than, yeah, I'll stop here.
Okay, thank you very much, Vipin, for giving us a sense of the film and also introducing the other films by this filmmaker, Sanal Kumar Shashidharan. Just so that others can take their time to gather their thoughts. To me, when I watched this film, and as Vipin was also mentioning some of the other films, particularly Chola and Sexy Durga, I remembered this Kannada proverb which says, Bekkige chellata, ilige prana sankata. That is, for the cat, it's all a game. It is a prank that it's trying to pull off or whatever. Whereas for the mouse, it is actually a question of life and death. So at least in these three films, it seemed like the person in power, whether it was in Chola or in this film Oli Divasate Kali, it seems that those in power seem to be virtually toying with the victims in each case. Here, even while Dasa, protests, he does not want to be part of the so-called game. It seems like he's willy-nilly drawn into this game that they are playing, and which for them is very much a game, but which for him, as we see in the end, leads to such horrific consequences. Two points about this, other points about this film that were striking to me, one of which Vipin mentioned, the camera work, which seems to kind of snoop in on the characters without really framing, one particular character or directing our gaze to one particular character. Also, for instance, when after the fight, outside Vinaya and Dharmana and their quarrel, as they return inside, it seems like when we follow the movement of the camera through those corridors with the rising walls inside the house, it seems like the camera is almost reluctant to go in, as if in anticipation of what is to happen. And again, that remarkable scene where in the end, after what they have done to Dasa, the camera just moves away, comes down, and then we get a view of what has happened to Dasa all the way down. So, from all the way down, not from the balcony where they're all standing. So it seems to, in some ways, have a life of its own, the camera. Gently, commenting on what is happening, and also kind of directing us not to, one character or a particular character as such, but to the events as they unfold and how we should kind of perceive those events. The other aspect of the camera, which I again found interesting, was the punctuating, water visuals. So at different points in time, you hear the sound of the water, and then you just see as if it's trying to, the camera is trying to penetrate deeper, go below the surface to give us a glimpse of what is happening. And the last point I'll make and then stop, and that has to do with the sound design. It reminded me of Nasir, Karthik's film Nasir, which we all saw in the beginning, sometime in June, where again it seems to capture a whole lot of other sounds and not necessarily the dialogues. So what Vipin said was right in a sense that these are just everymen. I mean, they're not characters. There's nothing remarkable about them. So just like it's something that unfolds on an off day, something that happens every day, so also these characters could be anyone, you and me or anyone. So in that sense, the way this everydayness and the so-called normality or normalizing of what happens, is done in the film is also extremely remarkable, I would think. Anyone else who is ready to come in?
Can I come in, Nikhila?
Yeah, please go ahead. Geeta, go ahead.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, since you ended on with a point on the characters, I would just like to add to it that the kind of characterization in the movie is something quite similar to the characterization in Chola as well, in the sense that we do not know anything about the characters beyond what is happening in the form of action, in the sense of, there is a decontextualization of characters. We don't know who these people are and, what kind of families they have and how they have come together here. We just know that they are friends and they are getting together to have a good time by binging on alcohol. So in that sense, but what is really striking is the kind of underlying tension, right from it all starts off as, it's very funny and it can be quite witty as well, and it generates laughter. Their drunken behavior is funny, and even the conversation of these men with with Geeta, the woman who does the cooking for them, seems apparently, like nothing very menacing about it on the surface. But at the same time, we know, and there is that tension that, is it going to result in a molestation or something of that kind? So, there is that seething, underlying, that subterranean tension that exists throughout the narrative, which I think is very striking. And of course, as Vipin also has already pointed out, the end of the film, just like in Chola, even here, it is, like, it's a very violent ending. The ending is so graphic and so violent, almost as if the narrative has to make up for the subtlety of the tension throughout the film. And then, you have this sudden and very, very horrific kind of violence that is perpetrated on a character. This is what I had to say.
Yeah. Thanks, Geeta. Anyone else who wants to come in at this point?
A third person observation. So it is not narrating the story. It allows us to observe things. And yes, but there are also especially the last scene, the camera moves to focus on each of those individuals. It may be because it was also a small balcony in which everything has to happen, and also camera has to be there. And camera sometimes shies away from looking at what is happening there. So when the end is and it looks at the water again, so it shies away from it. After his death, it comes back to it. So there are many places where talking about this long shot. Yes, there are long shots, and camera is not narrating anything. It tries to make us observe an instant that is happening. So in that sense, we become the spectators through the camera and not as one of the narrators, or there is no focus of it. And then the second point that I wanted to make was, yes, there are close-ups too, especially in the last scene. The camera moves along with the characters and how the dialogues passed on from one to other. And then the third point about the camera is, when certain things happen, the camera shies away from witnessing it. So it focuses on something else, like the lake or the rain. But we hear this sound, what is happening, but we can guess what is happening. And again, when it comes back, the incident that I mentioned was that of hanging the chicken. So when it was hung, the camera moves to the lake. When camera comes back, it is dead. So in that sense, that is also quite interesting, the movement of the camera. What it tries to observe and what it doesn't try to observe, but also knows what is happening.
Okay. Yeah. Vipin, would you want to come in, or would anyone else be ready to share your thoughts? Yes, Sanjay Kumar, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay, anyway, I'll speak. I guess I had unmuted unwillingly. Okay. I observed that this person, Dharma, he is not so violent, though he quarrels with Vinaya, and Vinaya also retorts there. That he says that you go to Gulf countries and do those dirty jobs and you earn money. Dharma knows to what extent he can take liberty with Vinaya, because Vinaya is a civil servant. And when it comes to Dasan, then everybody is cracking jokes, and they are making him target of their ridicule, starting with the, his dark skin, and then talking about his hardness of mind. Like Dharma says that, you have hardness of your mind. That's how it is given in subtitles. So that you are suited to kill the rooster. And there are other people also who think that, he is fit to pluck that jackfruit and to kill the chicken and do all kinds of odd jobs for which he is, he is fit. And then the same Dharma, he remarks that, in emergency, everybody was doing his job. So that points out to that, you have your situation, you have your status in the society, and everybody has to do his duty. That points to the caste system where, we have certain dispositions and we are fit to do those kind of jobs, which he is justifying. So he is not only justifying the in indirect way the caste system, but it also shows in his anger, because when he is with Vinaya, he at least reconciles later on. But for a very small matter, when they are having this game, he kicks Dasan on his chest, which is a very extreme behavior. And Dasan keeps on saying that he is not part of the game. But actually he is part of the game, because he has decided to come with them, and he has also been very submissive throughout, though he doesn't retort in the same way as Vinaya retorts. So he is not in a position to, to resist the way this lady resists, that she slaps Dharma. So somehow he becomes a victim, because he is not able to resist. And if he is not able to resist, and still he says that he is not a part of the game, he is a part of the game, because he has decided to, in a certain way, collaborate with them, and not to resist in a, in a very firm manner. So ultimately he becomes the victim.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for those comments. Would Vipin want to respond at this point to all that we have said so far?
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing about the names of the characters, like this Dharma Palan is one character, the Gulf returnee actually. So, I mean, what I'm saying is that the names of the characters also bear some meaning. Dharma Palan would be the protector of Dharma, or you can say that he's the protector of Dharma. And what Dharma is something that one can ask after that. But then, so Dharmapalan is one character, and then you have this dark-skinned man whose name is Dasan. Dasan is actually would mean somebody who does some, sort of slavish sort of job. And it's also very interesting that almost all the time, whenever they have to get some job done, then they will turn to Dasan. Be that getting the jackfruit or killing the rooster, they automatically turn to Dasan. So it seems that the kind of moral compunction that they have, being a Brahmin or being people from the middle class, etc., doesn't in some sense applies to the character of Dasan. That they think that he can do all such things. And I mean, in relation to the question of violence, this is also something very interesting, because this is the violence that that renders any kind of subjective sort of existence to some of these characters. In like in an off-day game, it's the character of Dasan. In Chola, she actually retreats to her own space, and then a social life becomes sort of impossible for her after that. So there is also in this violence a certain kind of destitution that is happening, which Nikhila ma'am also pointed out earlier. Then about the camera, I completely agree with Tarakeshwar, but I think I was saying that the what is interesting about this camera work is also that the camera doesn't really in any way organize the frame for you. It simply renders a, you know, in that long shot, it gives you a sense of what is there in the frame. But then how to organize those characters, those events, it doesn't do it. So I mean, this gives an extra sort of labor to the viewer, which is a very interesting thing. And partly this, I think, the last shot of Dasan hanging from on that cloth becomes so horrific also because of this lack of uh, the camera or the frame in a way to what how would we say that? I mean, because there is no way in which the viewer can relate to it. I mean, there is no cues given to relate to that. It becomes much more horrific, I think. um, yeah, so I mean, the camera is actually a very interesting thing in this movie in that way. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else who is ready to come in? Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I was interested in knowing about this folk song where they're saying that I'll drink and then I will beat my wives. What is that? Is it like that folk song exists already, or I don't know whether they have already added something to some existing folk song.
Vipin, can you tell us a little bit about the song?
And also there is, I'm
No,
sorry,
for
and also there is one joke about Bashir that he says, even the universal egg gets wet. I don't know what is that joke. These two things.
Yeah,
no, the
Vipin.
song the song I'm not sure I know the where the song is from. Um yeah.
This Bashir reference.
Bashir's reference is he uses this word antakadaham. Uh, so that is translated as universal egg. So it is after that rain scene where they come back and say that even the antakadaham got wet in rain. So that is what Dharman says. Even antakadaham got wet. But I mean, in that context, in that homo social context, that one might also say that it refers to, I mean, in a very vulgar sort of way, it refers to, male genitals. I mean, that could be one way of reading it, that word. I mean, in Bashir, that doesn't have any such connotation, but, in that context, I mean.
Okay. Okay. Tarakeshwar, you had unmuted yourself.
I just wanted to respond to what Sanjay said in his previous comment. So I don't know whether I can recollect it now. The point is about this Dharman kicking him and Dharman not being violent, and there is no context for that. I think that is very important point. And then it has to be understood in the context of what Vipin was saying is everyday violence. And though there is different kinds of violence that is depicted, I think there is a caste violence that comes out clearly at the end of the incident. I don't want to call it as a narrative because it looks like as the title suggests, a half-day game. So the end of that event is caste violence, which comes across more prominently than anything else. And the story that frames the event at the end and brings everything together also refers to caste, but not directly, but as Varna, the occupation system. And interestingly, these are all friends who are now doing various other occupations, and more or less we guess everybody's occupation except Dasan's. And Dasan, as everybody is saying, is reduced to doing odd jobs in this particular incident or on this day. So that's where the connections, and everything ends with the comment on the color of the body. So the race, the song that he says in English, the Dasan, is also a kind of a song on racism. So there seems to be uh, uh, a racist discourse, a Varna discourse, trying to explain this invisible caste violence. And why I'm saying invisible caste violence, because we generally associate caste with a certain kind of violence which is visible to us. Maybe it is visible to us through a certain kind of discourse about the caste. But this violence is not the traditional caste violence. This is about a modern, how caste operates in the modern world. All of them are friends. They are equal. They come together. They have drinks. And they have no problem in touching each other, talking to each other, making fun of each other. Everything is fine. And then the drinks, which we think that is the great equalizer in the modern society, which brings everyone together. And over a glass of wine, we quarrel with each other and we forget everything. But still, there are certain assumptions about the friends which come in the discussion and which aises the tragedy at the end. So in that sense, a modern caste, how invisible it is, and this the dramatic event at the end only tries to make it visible. Otherwise, it is invisible. We wouldn't have noticed. And while watching the movie, I was also thinking in terms of when we meet as friends, similar such things happen. Without me knowing certain things, I would be saying something about my friend, and he will get upset. He will retort. So all these things are very common. So it's the everydayness of the caste violence in the modern space is something that comes across, but the discourses that try to frame within this incident are of Varna and then that of the race. So these are the discourses that are available to us to talk about it. Either we talk in terms of the racism or in terms of the Varna system. So we don't know how to talk about the caste in the modern day world. And then the class is something that doesn't come through in this, except represented by a particular party, which is happening at the background. So the election is the background. It starts with the election, and though everybody has a stake in that election in this modern democratic system, which is supposed to be a great equalizer, and there is a mockery of this election system too, but only Dasan takes it seriously. Nobody else, the other characters in the incident, they don't take the election seriously. Only Dasan is taking it seriously. he belongs to a party, everybody makes fun of him for taking it seriously, and also for the party to which he belongs to, because they look down upon his party. But there is no greater critic of the other mainstream parties there. So they are making fun of a new entrant into the election. So there are certain subtle things which clearly indicates that the narrative talks about the modern, how caste operates in the modern space. I think I will stop here.
Okay. Vipin, you have anything to respond, or anyone else? Bhagyalakshmi, go ahead.
No, ma'am, this is about the song that Sanjay sir has asked.
Okay.
Actually, the song is there because in our schools and all, boys used to sing the song, but don't know where it is from. And we were afraid of wearing yellow dress, yellow color dress on celebration days and all, because boys used to aim us and sing that song. Manyakattil Poganam, like that. Like, in order to capture that yellow bird, and a kind of rape scene it is, we feel like that.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting information, additional information. We don't know these connotations because so it's then in a sense used to tease and make uncomfortable women. That's what you're saying. Okay. Okay.
Another point that I just wanted to make was about this masculinity and its relation to the characters, and so everybody is angling at Geetu. She becomes a kind of foil for them to assert their masculinity and their power, their position, and there is a discussion about it. So there is slight variations the way each one handles it. But interestingly, this Dasan is not the one who is not affected by the presence of Geetu there. So, though he is enjoying the kind of talk and comments that these people are making, but he himself doesn't make any comment. So, there is some sense, some slight masculinization of this character in the movie.
Yeah. Also, yes. Yeah, Vipin, you want to say something?
No, ma'am, no.
Okay. Also in the, Sanjay, please go ahead.
Sorry, but at the same time, he is the one who gets very wild when he comes to the stream. Then somebody comments that, he starts shouting whenever he sees the stream, and then he makes noise, and he is enjoying swimming in water. And when Vinaya comes, then both Dharma and Dasan, both of them, they carry him and put him in water, and he's the one who is selected for climb the tree to pluck this to cut the jackfruit from the tree. Yes, yeah.
That is the point that I was trying to make.
Yeah.
He doesn't need a Geetu as a foil to assert his masculinity.
Yes.
His masculinity comes out in other ways, but others need Geetu as a foil to assert their masculinity.
Yeah, very good comment.
Paniraj sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something which I talked with Sanal after watching this movie. I met Sanal after watching this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a kind of a Sanal. I mean, watching through all his filmography and this film in particular, and meeting him, Malayalam film is bringing the base instinct of animals in humans, I mean, in a sense that caste as well as gender. I mean, irrespective of the party and ideology we belong, where it coordinates itself. And that's very interesting in Malayalam films. Liji Joshi Pelissari is making films on that kind of thing. That they're bringing a kind of a what is, I mean, if you reduce it to your extreme, there are some reductionism, political reductionism is there. That's particularly they accept it, fine. The point is when you come to the symbolism of flags, etc., including his Yes Durga et al. But they are coordinating the extreme. If you reduce yourself to ultimate human as an ultimate animal, what exists as a social coordinate? Social coordinate is your gender bias and caste bias. That's a very interesting point I found in this particular movie as well as Sanal's other movies. He was not cynical. When I talked to him, he was not cynical about anything, but he was saying that these are the extreme issues we should question in our art. That when you reduce everything and lay bare a human, an Indian male to a bare extent, what stands out as a skeleton, right? And that's an interesting point with Sanal. He makes in all his films, including what we've been talking about Shoda.
While while we wait for Pandirat sir to make his comment, let me also share with you that Sanal Kumar Shashidharan was with us during the first session. This morning when I contacted him and asked him to be with us, he said he would like to be part of the discussion but anonymously. So he had asked me not to announce it when he logged in. I don't know if you people noticed, but he came in and he has just mailed me saying that he very much enjoyed the discussion and he is waiting for us to upload the video. And he says, please carry on. Please convey my regards to the participants. Shall watch the full discussion once it's uploaded. And he says this actually supports filmmakers like me a lot and helps people to understand art house films. So Pandirat sir was mentioning, talking to Sanal Kumar Shashidharan, he did not want to be part of a Q&A today, sir. But if he was there, probably, you know, you could have recalled your earlier conversation with him.
Yeah, because I did talk to him particularly about after this film screening in Bangalore. And of course, I was very much impressed by that Malayalam film industry is bringing extreme identity, existentialist identity crisis of Indian male. That particularly, I think it's a very interesting aesthetic film politics. You bring it to the extreme that the skeleton of Indian animal male, and then examining the social context from that point. Sanal is doing it continuously. I could watch him. I subscribed to movie and watched all his films.
Yes, I think, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, Sanjay Kumar, please go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, actually, this film reminded me of the Rule of Games of Jean Renoir, where also there is a party towards the end, and somebody gets killed. So I don't remember in detail what exactly happens in that film, that I have seen it. And I don't know if any of you can probably relate this film with the film of Jean Renoir, the Rule of Games, Réglé.
Go ahead. Sir, Pandirat sir, we are not able to hear you. Bhagyalakshmi, go ahead.
And here, Sanal Shashidharan has uh, chosen one of the stories by Unniyar. Another story, Leela, is also made into a movie, and it is a much discussed one. And it also deals with the male world, their place or ways and all. And this movie has brilliantly, he has taken it very in a very brilliant manner, Sanal Kumar Shashidharan, and the camera movements and all. It haunts us like anything. And as all said, the character of the caste and class are too much important, even if you call Kerala as a kind of progressive society and all, because the character of Geeta, the lady has to face all the difficulties as she belongs to such a class or caste, and she's aware of it, and she's able to resist it. And also the movie reminds me of Anand's Govardhana Yatragal, where the system makes only some a robber or kills us, and the other, at the same time the cop is able to bribe others, and others are also able to place them in almost good positions, but at the same time Dasan has to be killed in such a manner, the movie seems to me.
Okay.
And Leela is one of the wonderful movies by Unniyar. Unniyar's movie, Leela also. The character of um, a kind of sexual pervert is shown there, Kuttiyachan.
Okay. So when was it made, Bhagyalakshmi? Is it a recent film?
Old one it is,
I see. Okay.
Leela.
Okay.
Can I speak?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I have a few comments. A few comments. First, I want to say something about that song, which was referenced earlier. These people were singing that song, right? About and they were talking about beating the wives and then divorcing them, and after killing them, you can marry someone else or something. Okay, so originally it's a folk song. There is, I think the official version. This is a folk song, but it was popularized by this singer and actor called Kalabhavan Mani. So he had sung a popular version of that song, and I tried to listen to a couple of versions which are available on YouTube, and these particular lyrics pertaining to this violence against wives are missing from the original song. I think these were improvised and they added it to the song in the film uh, to, you know, stress on their internal violence or something which was coming out slowly, you know, unveiling itself as they go deeper and deeper. Okay, and also that poem which Dasan recites, it's a French poem by Senghor, who was one of the founders of the Negritude movement, called my dear white brother. Yeah, okay, now some other comments. So this film, for me, it perfectly dismantles this false notion that in a progressive democratic space, class negates or even engulfs caste. Okay, this is a very false notion, and it's pushed by these progressive liberals and all. We can see it all the time in media and in debates. See, what happens is, even if someone from the lower caste climbs up and is able to reach a middle class status, you know, status of a bourgeois or a petit bourgeois, he is still haunted by the specter of caste, and it's always there. Okay, we can see that in this particular group, we can make some assumptions that they are maybe well-to-do kind of people, all of them, and they might belong to the same kind of social class, but still this uh, under the guise of democratic space, which is shown to us first in the very first part, as a celebration of democracy and everything, with this last day of election, which is known as Kalasha Kottu. So that is happening there. But as they enter this other space, okay, and I saw this, I tried to look at it as two spaces, okay, and it's somewhat superficially demarcated in the film, because if you remember, there is a drone shot as they are moving into this forest. There is a drone shot, aerial drone shot, which kind of at least superficially demarcates these two spaces. Okay, it's like a state of culture and another state of nature, very superficially you can say. And as they enter this other space, all these suppressed or repressed sort of or sugar coated even kind of violent behaviors, this innate caste prejudices, everything is unveiling itself in this other space. Okay, and in the very last scene at the end of the game, during the game itself.
Arun, just a second.
Yeah.
If we go off now, please come back.
Sure.
Yeah. Continue,
Sure.
please. Continue, please.
Yeah. So in the during the end stages of the game, those people, they try to guess who is the robber. The first two people. Okay. So, and both of them guess it incorrectly, and they are fit for punishment. But what do they do there? They try to pay the king and the minister to remove that punishment. So this is a perfect example of how caste and capital. So yeah, so as I was saying, the last scene, so those two people, the first two people, they are fit for punishment. And how do they get out of this punishment? They pay the minister and the king. They say that we'll make some payment, and they are let off the hook. Okay, this is a very perfect kind of example of how this nexus between caste and capital works. Okay, very nice. And also how this guy is tied up and wound up on the floor, this Dasan, during that thing. It was very even though this film came out in 2015, in 2018 we know that a very atrocious caste violence incident happened in Kerala, in Attapadi. A tribal youth called Madhu, he was tied up, and he was a victim of mob lynching, victim of caste violence. And he was tied up in the middle of the street, and he was beaten up by these people who were calling him a thief. Very, very similar. They were calling him the robber. He stole some rice or something. Okay. And yeah, and someone was mentioning that names have some significance. So I was wondering whether the name Narayanan has some significance. Is it an allusion to Narayana Guru, something? But that guy doesn't play much of a role in the film. Is it a critique of this dominant Irava community? Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
No, or maybe Narayanan, I don't know, this Narad Muni is there, he is very good in connecting people. Maybe that is the behavior. A resourceful person.
Yeah, but I also agree with, I mean, it sounds more, plausible what Arun was mentioning about Narayana. I mean, he's drunk and kind of made, irrelevant to the scenario which is unfolding. Even I was wondering what is it saying? I mean, if it's saying something about the varna or the caste structure in society, what does it mean to make Narayana completely irrelevant in everything that unfolds after that? Vipin, would you have anything to say about Narayana and what happens to him?
Yeah, that's an interesting point that you said. But,
Yeah, before you joined us, Arun was making this point about Narayana and whether it has something to do with, reference to Narayan Guru and the Ilava community. This was his question. So, what do you think?
yeah, that could be one way of looking at it, going by his name. But actually, I hadn't thought about it. It's actually when you said it now, that could be like his complete absence from the rest of the movie is something interesting. But I hadn't really thought about it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, if you look at the Irava community, I believe it is the at least numerically, it is the most dominant caste community in Kerala, I believe, and it always takes this sort of very ambiguous political positions. Okay, and very recently they had formed a political party, BJDS something, and they were a partner of the NDA during last general election and all. They failed spectacularly, but so that's what I was saying. This SNDP and everything what Narayana Guru did, founded. The current situation of all these institutions are quite horrible. They are irrelevant actually. But by being this irrelevant, they are actually facilitating this upper caste oppression. They do not intervene.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to comment? Yeah, Tarakeshwar, go ahead.
Yeah, just two quick points. That was a good analysis by Arun, but I don't know whether we can uh, take Narayanan's character as the representative of Yelava community or not. But interestingly, it is not the, yes, there is a Nambudari in this incident, but others seem to be more or less middle class. So it is middle class versus Dalit. That seems to have been played out, though there is an upper caste at the background. And interestingly, why this film is about caste, though there are other things in this, precisely because in the last 6 months during lockdown, I've been watching many Malayalam movies. Generally, Malayalam movies are multi-religious in their social context. So there are several films that have come out on inter-religious marriages too, or love affair, love too. But in this movie, there's only one religious context. There's no Muslim characters, there are no Christian characters. So in that sense, this movie seems to be about the caste. So I was wondering, I was expecting that a Muslim character or a Christian character will appear, but never appeared in the incident. So in that sense, those characters are out so that it can focus on the issue of caste.
Yeah. Anyone who has not responded so far? Kavya, anything to say?
Nothing new to add, ma'am. Just one point which I thought was about the homosocial space in some of the recent Malayalam films. This one and films like Idiki Gold. There are a few other films. I couldn't remember the names right now. But the importance of this male homosocial spaces in recent Malayalam films. So when this Shabarimala incident happened, the riots and all related to that happened. Actually, Jay Deviga had written a few comments regarding this about the male homosocial spaces in Kerala, like the Kallu shop, like the toddy shops. Then there is this habit of this men sitting on the roadside and the public spaces. Even though we think that in Kerala the public space is so much accessible for women, how many a times it is a place for meeting of men, and how women feel within that male homosocial spaces. All these things are discussed during the Shabarimala uh, incident. So I was thinking about this film within that frame, thinking about male homosocial spaces within Kerala. If we think in that sense, uh, it gives some interesting reading about masculinities and masculine spaces in public sphere. Actually, we can in the beginning scene when that election, last day of election campaign happens, you can see like it's an all male space through which very few female figures are squeezing in and trying to go back home. Many of them were actually going back from work, or they are doing some work. They are not part of that crowd, but they are trying to go back home from their workplace or somewhere. So they're not part of the election. They didn't come just to see this incident of the last day of election campaign. So see, there is this argument about like suppose a woman want to be in the public space in Kerala, she should have some purpose. Just like when you can't stand in a bus stand and simply to watch this election campaign coming to an end, or just like that you can't sit or stand and talk on the roadside purposelessly. You should have some purpose of being in the public space. So actually I think I was thinking in that direction about other films. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And so, therefore, when Geeta finishes her work, she doesn't, I mean, there is nothing else for her. She has to leave. I mean, obviously, the way Narayana can be part of their revelry, she's not going to be. That's what you want to imply?
No, I was not just talking about her, but
Okay.
I was talking about the like male homosocial bondings and places which men occupy. And in that sense, if you want to add what you said, then Gita is a representative of many others.
Hmm. Yeah.
The female figure within this male homosocial spaces.
Yeah. No, because I also was thinking of S. Durga and what happens in the car, and with one lone woman, and with all these men trying to, tease and play along with the couple. So she's a lone woman there in this kind of enclosed car. And the way they kind of tease her, make her uncomfortable. So I thought you were also implying that.
Yeah, all that is there, but I think within the narrative of this film, I was making this comment not about Geeta particularly. I was trying to place it within a larger frame.
Okay.
Like in this film, what I felt was that Geeta, if we, as Vipin was discussing about this impending danger, which many films of Sanal Kumar Shashidharan shows. If you think in that direction, Geeta seems to be the only one who has a sense of something wrong may happen. I think she's quite aware of it from the beginning itself. So, and she knows what has to be done, and she knows to go back also.
Yeah.
Unlike even Narayanan or other people, she is so much aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we'll thank Vipin for suggesting this film, and we also thank Sanal Kumar Shashidharan for joining us for this discussion. Although he was not there to be part of a Q&A or, to be there for all the sessions. I think it was very nice of him to come at very short notice and be part of our discussion.